This is Carib News Desk. I'm Dennis Shibrol. First, the headlines. Trinidad and Tobago to host Carnival despite Ebola fears. A major Caribbean company wants CARICOM to create a harmonized system for financial reporting. 2 dead in cargo plane crash off Dutch St. Martin. And as the CEO of Apple says, he's gay and proud. Details coming up.
We are one Caribbean, one people, one nation. Facing the same destiny, so separated we are. As one, let's come together. One market economy. Caribbean is how it should be. Let's support CARICOM for Caribbean unity. It takes you. It takes me for Caribbean unity.
Trinidad and Tobago authorities have decided that Carnival 2015 will go ahead despite concerns in some quarters about the deadly Ebola virus being imported to that twin island nation during festivities. Announcing that Carnival will indeed go ahead, the chairman of the National Ebola Prevention Information and Response Team, Vice Chief of Defense Staff Brigadier General Anthony Phillips Spencer says the risk level is insufficient to advise Cabinet that any major event should be cancelled. Authorities intend to tighten monitoring at not only the airports but all seaports so that risks can be identified and contained. Trinidad and Tobago's Health Minister Fuad Khan says health experts are constantly monitoring the spread and impact of the virus globally to inform local decision-making.
The trial of Carnival, but as Minister of Health I have to look at the whole worldwide scenario. Look at the exponential rise of Ebola in the countries where they are. Look at any rise in the countries that are screening properly. Look at any rise at the ports of entry of the countries that have all the things in place. I have to look at and see, are these nurses or whoever may be the health workers with all the hazmat suits and everything else still getting infected? Why?
Trinidad and Tobago's Power 102 FM canvassed the views of a number of persons on the streets of the Twin Island Republic about government's decision to allow Carnival.
I find it too early to make a decision on that just yet because Ebola could come here next month and we see Carnival continue not to normal, so we shall tell it about a month after and then make a decision.
I think that the government doesn't care because it's so serious for us. With the government plan to go ahead with Carnival 2015, it just shows a lack of concern for the country, for the nation, for people in the country. And I do wish them luck because I definitely would not be around.
Yeah, but I don't think they should do that because they're not safe for us. It's not safe. It's not safe for us because we at risk. They're making it look like we safe. That's not safe.
I think it's a bad idea. Well, you have to think about the health of the people first and foremost. Health is important. Carnival always there.
Well, you can't stop Carnival, that's what I have to say. Carnival will go through because people don't book their flight. Even if they ain't come for Carnival, they will still come for the holiday. Look at that, Nigeria, the closest country, and them have no Ebola. And them is the closest to Africa. Them supposed to have plenty. And look how far Trinidad is from Africa. The only place we have to look out for most I think is Tobago. Tobago is the place who have the most tourists coming in, and not only just Carnival in general. The next is that what I have to look out for. It's a serious thing with Ebola, but Carnival will go through.
2 persons died after a cargo plane contracted by Phillips crashed into the Caribbean Sea off Dutch St. Martin late Wednesday evening. Acting Director of the Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard, Wendell Toad, tells Caribbean News Desk that a twin-engine SH-36 aircraft went down about 6:55 p.m., 1 minute after takeoff from the Princess Juliana Airport. Mr. Toad says the body of the 59-year-old German pilot was recovered about 4 hours later. He says search and rescue teams braved a passing storm. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard official says the search resumed early Thursday morning, but only debris was recovered. He says the search has been called off and the missing American co-pilot is believed dead.
Around midday, we didn't see no more debris and nothing more in the sea. So we did discontinue the search because due to the fact that what we had to cover the kind of debris that we have to cover is most probably that the other body went down with the plane. What has to be established right now is we have to pinpoint where the plane went down, and then that we can recover the plane, and then most probably then recover the other body.
Owned by the Florida-based Skyway Enterprises, the plane was returning to Puerto Rico. It was shuttling cargo on behalf of FedEx. The World Bank says that it will provide an additional $100 million to battle the Ebola outbreak in West Africa and to facilitate the deployment of foreign health professionals in the worst affected countries. Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone account for the bulk of the 4,922 deaths blamed on the Ebola epidemic that began in March. World Bank President Jim Yong Kim says that while the world's response to the Ebola crisis has increased significantly in recent weeks, there is a huge gap in getting enough trained health workers to the areas with the highest infection rates. Thursday's announcement brings the $500 million the amount set aside by the World Bank for the fight against Ebola, the largest contribution from a multilateral institution. The bank says that money will help set up a center to coordinate activities with the three affected countries, the World Health Organization and the UN agency in Ghana, charged with recruiting, training, and deploying healthcare workers. West African countries have renewed their pleas for assistance to strengthen local capacities and allow governments to resume providing basic health services not related to Ebola. The President and Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad-based Massey Group, Gervais Warner, wants the Caribbean community, or CARICOM, to do better to ensure that there are unified financial reporting standards. He was in Guyana for last night's launch of the Massey brand at the opening of a $10 million state-of-the-art distribution center. Speaking with Caribbean News Desk, Mr. Warner said CARICOM is very challenged in facilitating growth and development. He says the absence of common standards for labeling and inspection of products across the region is very expensive for large pan-Caribbean companies like Massey.
But certainly within the region, I think we can do better to create a more level playing field and to eliminate a bunch of unnecessary duplicative costs that we have, so that if something is tested in one area, that test would apply to all of the other territories. If someone's compliant with regulation in one territory, that would apply to the other territories, as opposed to having several different standards and regulations and regulatory authorities in each of our territories that force us as a regional organization to create infrastructure to comply with all these different bodies, and it's difficult, it's expensive, and it's a disincentive to regionalization.
The Massey Caribbean boss also hopes that CARICOM can harmonize a range of business requirements.
I would point to standardization of regulation as one of the opportunities for integration that we are missing. There are different regulations every territory, and different reporting requirements, different capital requirements, and it's difficult. And each authority retains their desire to be able to conduct audits or to assess penalties, etc. And the coordination isn't very strong.
The decision by Brazil's central bank to raise interest rates following President Dilma Rousseff's re-election has taken the market by surprise. Interest rates were raised on Wednesday by a 0.25 percentage point from 11%, at which they have stood since April, to 11.25%. Brazil's Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee, that meets every 45 days to chart the direction of the so-called Selic rate, said the decision was justified due to the escalation of the adjustment of relative prices in the economy that made the balance of inflation risks less favorable. In April, interest rates were subjected to a 9th consecutive hike. In the subsequent months, the Monetary Authority opted to keep it at the same level. Despite advocating measures for inflation control, the market did not expect an immediate rate increase. The decision came 4 days after Rousseff was re-elected for a second term, beating opposition candidate Aécio Neves, who in his campaign had attacked her government for the country's high inflation and low growth rates, estimated to be 0.3% for this year. According to financial market experts polled weekly by the bank, inflation will be very close to the official target of 6.5% at the end of the year. In Venezuela, 10 people are in custody for the murder of a ruling party lawmaker and his aide. Venezuelan Attorney General Luisa Ortega says the arrest warrants remain outstanding for 4 other suspects, 3 of them foreign nationals. All 14 individuals are charged with aggravated homicide in the deaths of legislator Robert Sierra and aide Maria Herrera, aggravated robbery, and a criminal conspiracy. Serra and Herrera were staying the night of October 1 at the lawmaker's home in Caracas. The crime was carried out by 6 men, according to President Nicolas Maduro, who says the killings were politically motivated and that the Venezuelan ultra-right is involved. Maduro has said that a double murder was ordered by right-wing paramilitaries based in neighboring Colombia, and the killers were paid $500,000. The president has also disclosed that a police officer responsible for Serra's security is among the people charged in the case, while Maduro has said that Colombia's former president Álvaro Uribe was one of those behind the killings. Venezuelan authorities have not leveled any formal accusations against the Colombian. The man in charge of making your iPads, iPhones, and iPods and Mac computers has publicly acknowledged that he is gay and proud. Apple CEO Tim Cook did so in an essay published Thursday in which he said he's proud to be gay, something that he considers to be one of the greatest gifts God has given him. He says that while he has never denied his sexuality, he hasn't publicly acknowledged it either until now. Considered one of the world's most powerful businessmen, he says that throughout his business life, he has never sought to draw attention to himself. In making the disclosure, Cook says he was inspired by civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in deciding to leave his desire for personal privacy behind and to do something more important, such as speak out publicly about his homosexuality so that he can help other people in the same situation. He says that being gay has given him a deeper understanding of what it means to be in the minority and provided a window into the challenges that people in other minority groups deal with every day. Cook, who took over Apple in August 2011, a few months before the death of iconic co-founder Steve Jobs, said that the world has changed so much since he was a boy, and the United States is moving towards marriage equality for same-sex couples. He notes that nevertheless, in many states, U.S. laws still exist that allow employers to fire a person based solely on their sexual orientation. In Brazil, the use of electronic devices on commercial flights will be allowed until the end of the year. The Brazilian National Civil Aviation Agency says airlines may apply for permission as of Thursday, but they must certify that their devices will not interfere with flight operations, such as communications and navigation systems, the agency said in a statement. Brazil currently prohibits the use of cell phones, tablets, cameras, and laptop computers, among other devices, during takeoffs, landing, and in runways. The new rules will allow passengers to make calls and use the internet while planes are on the ground and in flight mode.
We are 15 states with a common goal, a unified purpose to face the world, enriching lives, empowering people, creating a strong economic region. No matter where you're from, no hassle, just freedom. Whether business, school, or pleasure, we will benefit together. The CARICOM single market, good for you and me. The CARICOM single market, good for you and me. The CARICOM single market, good for you and me. Oh yeah.
And that's it for Carib News Desk for today. Don't forget you can visit our website at caribnewsdesk.com, on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Carib News Desk. We're also on Twitter at twitter.com/demwaves. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dennis Shabroy.